Hello and welcome back to Build a Game. In this video I'm going to show you how to play Tower Up, a game by Grégoire Largey, Franck Crittin et Sébastien Pauchon. This is a game for 2 to 4 players, lasts about 30 to 45 minutes, and it's recommended started at age 8. As usual, I'll first show you what the objective of the game is, then I'll show you how to play the game, and then I'll give you some hints for your first game, and at the end I'm going to show you how to set up the game. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. But now let's get started with Tower Up.
Rule the game.
In Tower Up, you're gonna build towers, of course. And depending on how tall your tower is that you just built, you're gonna get points for it. There are 4 different colors of towers that you can build, and for each color you're gonna get points at the end of the game. This is the main board in the game where you see all the different towers. And then you have your personal board here where you get the actual score, your points, and they're marked here with these numbers on green. And there are different ways to get points. For one, you're going to get points for each of the 4 different vehicles depending on where they stand at the end of the game. So for this one you'll get 4 victory points, for this it's 5, here it's 5 too, and here it's 7. There are some objectives in the game, they're up here. Each one you can fulfill only once. And then if you fulfill it, you're going to get some here of these extra points. So these you can also add to your score of the vehicles. And lastly, this little icon here, it shows you the number of roofs that you currently see here on the board. So you see here currently 4 of my orange roofs in the game. And it's only the ones that are really on top of the buildings, not the ones that are in the middle of the building. And so here you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll get here also 7 points, 7 victory points for the roofs that I have on top of buildings. So you'll add up the 4 numbers from these here, plus this one, plus these, whatever you have over here, and whoever has the most points wins the game. In case of a tie, then the person who has the most floors left in their supply will break the tie. Now for the eagle-eyed ones amongst you, or the nitpicky ones, I'm aware of the fact that my personal board and the actual main board here don't really match, and that the main board also doesn't seem to look like what it should look like at the end of a 3-player game. That's fair. However, I think it's close enough that I can show to you how the game actually works. Tower Up is a turn-based game. On your turn you have exactly 2 options. Either you take a card and then you take some floors, or you move one of your diggers or some of these other vehicles that you have. Or second, you can build a new tower somewhere, and I'm going to show you both of those options right now. Option 1 is that you can take one of those 3 cards that you see here. Now, most of the time, these cards will just show you different floors that you can take. So if you take that card, you're going to take a black and 2 brown floors, and you take them into your supply. Your supply can never have more than 10 floors. Once you've taken the tiles from this card here, you put the card in a discard pile and you pull out a new card immediately. As you can see, cards can be slightly different. Here, for example, those are 2 joker floors. Here you can decide what color you want to take. You can even take 2 different ones. And then there's also this card here, where you actually have here this vehicle here, the white one. I don't know what it is, but in any case, here you're going to get to move this white one by 1 point. And then you of course take the 2 floors and you discard that card too. Now again, just 1 card, you decide which one, put it in a discard pile, and then you take a new one out. So this was option 1. And here comes option 2, building a new tower. To build a new tower, there are a set of rules that you have to follow. For one, a new tower, of course, needs to go on an empty field, and then it needs to be a different color than the towers that are connected to it through these white little streets. So in this case, the gray tower here will work because the towers here are black and brown. Had I put this one over here, that wouldn't have worked, but it would have worked also here, for example. Any new tower you're building needs to be next to a tower that already exists. Now to build a tower, and let's say I build here a brown tower, I'm going to have to pay the associated costs with this tower. The costs that you pay for this tower are that you will have to pay a floor on the towers that are connected to this new tower that I'm building. Connected are this gray tower and this gray tower. So I'm going to have to put a floor on each of these towers. And as you can see, even though there's here a roof on it, it's my own roof actually, I can put here another floor on top of it. When you pay for your floors, you have to follow two rules. One is that, of course, the floor that you place there to pay for your new tower that you're building, the floors always have to match the floors that are already there. So, for example, here, if I need to pay this tower, I'll always have to put a gray floor in it. And so that's rule number one. And second rule is the floor, of course, has to come of your own supply. You can't take it from the main supply here. You first have to collect the costs before you can actually start building anything. And if you cannot pay the costs for your new tower, then you cannot place your new tower. Then, my last action that I can do is I put a roof on either the tower I just built, the new one, or the two towers that I paid for to get this new tower built. Of course, in my case, I want to build a roof on this floor, and as you can see, I already had a floor below it. It doesn't matter, you can still do this. And then you score the tower where you put your roof, and you score however many tiles, however many floors this tower now has. So this is 3, and I score it by moving here my digger by 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Now there's a special rule for these personal boards that whenever all your different vehicles have passed or have reached a line of stars, so the last one here, this one has just passed this line of stars, I now actually get an extra turn. And I can either do this turn again where I pull here a card and take tiles, floor tiles, or I build another tower here. Please note that it's technically possible that here a vehicle could actually pass 2 star lines, but in that case you only get 1 extra turn. Should you be able to fulfill one of those conditions up here with the move that you just made by building a tower in this case, of course, then you can take the highest number of victory points from whichever objective you were able to fulfill, and that can actually be more than one, and then you take these tiles here and place them here on your board. As you can see, for every objective, you can only fulfill it once, and you can only take one of those tiles, and of course you take the highest number that you can still find there unless somebody else has taken it already. I won't explain all the different objectives here. For those, please have a look at the last page of the instruction manual. Once you finish your turn by doing one of the 2 options, and then also maybe some of the extra turns that you have, then it's the next player's turn in clockwise order. Now the game end is triggered when one of the players has placed their last roof on top of a tower. Once this has happened, and exactly at that instance, this player will count how many roofs they can see of their own color on top of any of the towers. They will then place this little token here in the spot here, counting from the left with how many roofs they've actually seen, in this case 4. Once the first player has finished their game, then the other players still get 1 more turn to finish their game. They have to do one of the 2 options. They would have to pull a card here off the different tiles if necessary, or they can build another tower, of course, and at the end of their turn they will also count how many roofs of their color they can see on top of the towers, and once the last player has done this, then the game's over and we count the points. And here's some hints for the first game. I always look out for the towers that you can build where you can then place a roof that cannot be replaced by somebody else putting another floor on top and then putting a roof there. For example, as you can see on the field here on the board here, back here there's a one-way street that leads to this tower. So if it's my turn now, I could place a gray tower here, and I'll pay here my 1 floor on the white tower, and then I'll place my floor here. Actually, I can place it now on this or on this one here, because nobody will be able to place another floor on this tower afterwards. So I'm not pretty safe here. I will have that floor to score at the end of the game. And you see there are a few of these one-ways here where you definitely always have this. You'll find some other towers also, for example this gray tower. When you place now a tower here, nobody will be able to really reach this tower anymore. So if you're able to place a tower here and pay by paying these two gray ones, in that case you're also safe on this one with a roof on top of it. So I'm always going for being the one who has roofs on top of the building rather than in the middle of it. Having said that, I am willing to also put roofs in the middle of a tower if they're helping me with the objectives. I personally think that the objectives are really worth going for. Of course, you want to be the first one if somehow possible. That gives you the 7 victory points. But I think the more important thing than being the first one to finish an objective really is that you finish it at all. If you don't finish it, you're going to miss these 3 victory points for not getting it done at all. So try to really get the objectives done. Try to see if you can somehow build them together, that when you build a tower, you can work on 2 objectives at the same time rather than one by one. And lastly, I also want to point out that it really is worth getting one of your vehicles all the way to the end, because as you can see, the further you go with one vehicle, the more points you gain. Over here, the points only increase if you do 2 steps. Once you get over here, you get 1 point per step that you do, and in this case, from the second last to last, you get even 2 victory points. That's not too easy to achieve otherwise. And that's Tower Up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel. And up next, how to set up the game. To set up the game, you take the main board here. This is the side for 3 to 4 players, and then if you fold it over, you have the side for 2 players. Next, you're going to put up here the different objective cards. For the beginning, it says that you should probably work with the S cards here, so you'll place them here randomly. And then you'll put here the markers for fulfilling the objectives up on these fields. For 4 players, you'll place all 4 of them. For 3 players, you'll take away one of the 3s. And if you play only with 2 players, you also take away the 5s. Then you'll shuffle all the cards with the different towers. You'll place the shuffle deck here. You'll open up 3 cards, the top 3 cards off the deck. And then you place them the right way around. Because you can take here the floors that are on the bottom of these cards. In this case, the brown one and the gray one. And in this case, whatever you want. Let's say black one. And then you place these 3 floors in any place on the board where you feel like there should be. One thing that you cannot do is that you place 2 towers of the same color next to each other, because they always have to have a different color. Then every player takes their personal board. They take all the different roofs. It should be 10 of them. They take also this little thing. And they take the 4 different vehicles that they have. And they place them here in the right color on the starting parts right here. Then every player takes 1 floor of each color to their own supply. That's what they're going to start with. And now we're ready to get started.